Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Bill Bestpitch, and it's my honor to serve as your worship associate this morning. We want to welcome everyone who's here with us in person. Thank you so much for being with us at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Roanoke. And we extend a special welcome to anyone who may be here for the first time. Invite you to join us for coffee right after the service. We also want to welcome those who are watching on YouTube. If you'll turn around and just look at the camera and wave to them, everybody at home who may be watching. If you are watching on YouTube and you want to share something during the Lifelines portion of the service, please put that in the chat within the next 15 minutes, and they'll be added at that time. Our minister is the Reverend Walter LaFleur, and today's service is Vulnerable and Loving It. And at this time, I'd like to remind you to put your hearts, your minds, and your cell phones in worship mode. As you're comfortable, please join us in reciting the words of welcome. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you express your identity, whatever your situation in life, whatever your experience of the holy, as you come seeking love, your presence here is a gift. Whether you are filled with sadness, overflowing with joy, needing to be alone with yourself, or eager to engage with others, all who welcome all are welcome here. And then our covenant, we commit to supporting each other with respect and direct communication as we work in community to explore spiritual growth and to be a force for good in the world. We are honored today to have the club with us for special musicians, and they will provide our opening music at this time.
was a good morning. Do I have a microphone here? Our opening words this morning come from Audrey Lord. I've come to believe over and over again that what is most important to me must be spoken, made verbal, and shared, even at the risk of having it bruised and misunderstood. Those are words from Transformation of Silence into Language and Action. Our chalice lighting words come from Oliver Schreiner. The road to honor is paved with thorns.
And since we have no accompaniment this morning, we will recite the chalice lighting response as printed in your order of service. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, O Spirit of life.
Hey, y'all. I'd like to invite all of our folks who are young at heart to come on forward for a little bit of a story this morning. And as you come forward, I'll introduce myself. My name is Jessie. I am the Director of Lifespan Faith Development here, and I use they, them pronouns. So this morning, I got here a little bit early, and my friend Cindy was here. That's Cindy. And Cindy said, I've got something for you, and handed me a cup of something. Now, I haven't smelled it. I haven't tasted it. But Cindy also likes to play tricks sometimes. So, what do y'all think? Should I trust this and take a sip? Now, Cindy might know that I don't drink coffee, and I like tea, but not always in the mornings. So what do you guys think might be in my cup? Do you think it's hot or cold? Hot. Do you think it might be sweet or not so sweet? Not so sweet. Do you think that I should trust this cup of stuff? Yes. Why should I trust it? Because it's from Cindy. Cindy wouldn't do me wrong, right? All right. Well, I'm going to take a sip and I will tell you what is in my cup. It's water. Cindy, how did you know that I was thirsty? Thank you so much for my water. You know, I had to take a big old risk taking this cup from Cindy, but Cindy knows that I love her and I know that she loves me, and I trusted her to take this sip, and you guys helped me with that. But sometimes we have to take a big old risk when we meet new people, don't we? Well, we're going to go upstairs and we're going to talk about some of those risks we take, and we're going to take a really big risk today. Just you wait and see. It's going to be awesome. Let's head out. Kevin, will you lead us?
Our reading this morning is Shall I Be Good? From Meditations of the Heart by one of the great theologians of the 20th century, Howard Thurman. Shall I be good because of some reward? Because the virtuous act pays dividends? From early childhood, we are drilled in the experience of expecting to be rewarded because we are good and punished because we are bad. Again and again, to be good means to us to be approved. If the act is approved by those who rate highly with us, then it is apt to be regarded as a good act or a good deed. Under such circumstances, the basis of our morality is located outside ourselves completely and is resident in those persons or that person whose esteem we seek and must have, or we are insecure. There is a wide area of human experience in which we are involved directly in the category of reaping and sowing. We cannot escape the logic of this part of the moral law. Individuals, as well as nations, do reap what they sow. But there is more involved in our central question than this. It is not enough to be good because of some reward, because the virtuous act pays dividends. The virtuous act may or may not pay dividends. In the last analysis, men cannot be persuaded to be good because of the reward, either here or beyond this veil of tears. Men must finally come to the place in their maturity which makes them do the good thing because it is good. Not because it is a command, even a divine command, but because the good deed, the good thought, the good life is in itself good. This is the strength of the good deed, that it is good. When this is our awareness, then the whole matter of reward and punishment, approval and disapproval becomes strangely irrelevant. Shall I be good because of some reward? Because the virtuous act pays dividends? No, I shall be good because it is good.
Being vulnerable is not something we tend to hold in high regard. When one sees the definition of the term, folks aren't likely to run in that direction. Able to be physically or emotionally injured, open to attack or damage. Words associated with vulnerability reinforce its negative connotation. Exposed, helpless, defenseless, unsafe, weak, sensitive. But I want to be contrary. I want to be a contrarian this morning. I want to suggest that being vulnerable is something people of faith should not avoid. Being vulnerable is not to be avoided if you seek genuine connection with another person, if you seek a genuinely loving relationship with someone. Being vulnerable is not to be avoided. That said, vulnerability is not for the weak-kneed. If you're a real pushover, maybe vulnerability just ain't for you. If you regularly find yourself in the one down position, vulnerability is probably not going to serve you very well. In short, one should not take the idea of vulnerability lightly. Vulnerability is often culturally defined, culturally determined, and culturally evaluated. Women are too often thought of as inherently vulnerable creatures, weak, in need of being taken care of, protected, supported. While I know that view is much less true today than in days gone by, I suggest it's more likely morphed into another form rather than having disappeared altogether. Women themselves have done a lot of work to dispel the notion of women as weak and needy. In our society, maybe in most, men are not supposed to be vulnerable. In fact, they are to be anything but weak, helpless, defenseless, even sensitive. Well, sensitive may be in the process of coming into vogue for the so-called metro male. Men who are seen as weak too often get taken advantage of or left behind on the corporate ladder. Gay men are too often seen as weak. In today's world, it can still be dangerous for a man to be seen as sensitive, which is often interpreted and perceived as weak. That goes doubly, triply probably, for Black men in this country. I knew that from an early age, and I don't believe anyone ever told me so. I learned it by living in a Black body, in a Black family, in America, even up north. From an early age, I learned from my father the importance of being strong, self-sustaining. In numerous ways, he and my mother taught us we needed to be better in order to be seen as equal. My brothers and I especially understood we were vulnerable to arbitrary negative assessment, belittlement, disrespect. We understood that by simply being Black, we risked being seen as vulnerable. We learned how to help insulate ourselves from attack and negative assessment. We learned how to put forth a public image that said, I'm not weak, I'm not defenseless, and I'm not vulnerable, so don't even try it. We learned to use the King's English as a foil. Using a large vocabulary and proper grammar was important. We tried to always be perfect or near perfect at everything we did. We adopted an attitude, not of being equal, but of knowing more, being better than. We carried ourselves with a bit of a swagger that said, don't mess with me. All at great cost. While I never had a specific conversation with my siblings about this, I think at some point in our lives we all understood our public image was not the same as our internal sense of self. We all had big hearts, which we tended to hide. And we hid how easily we could be hurt. But we were successful. Damn it. What a conundrum. It took me years and years to learn that I didn't always need to be invincible. I didn't always need to strive to be perfect, beyond reproach. I didn't always need to be right or end up on top. It came as a slow defrosting, and I continue to thaw. Learning to pay attention to the difference between head and heart makes quite a difference. Learning we don't always need to rely on our head to protect our heart is important learning. And I continue to learn to trust my heart, which I've come to call inner knowing. and it will guide me, rather than requiring that I figure it all out before I take any step at all. Learning I don't always need to be protected. In largest measure, my learning came as a result of being taught to pay more attention to what I felt on the inside. Learning to value and trust my instincts to trust my instincts more, leaning less on the dictates of my rational brain. And foundational learning during one's ministerial development, or maybe just in the process of maturing, is at some point you discover all you have is you. All you have is you. Intellect and knowledge will get you only so far. Empathy, smiles, and a happy face is fine, but it only goes so far. Intentions can be wonderful, but in the final analysis, it's who you are and how you are in the world that matters. Somewhere along the line, one comes to understand that being authentic is the best defense. Being authentic is the best defense. It's the most powerful of stances. No matter what someone else says or does, they cannot take you away from you. You can devalue yourself, you can give yourself away, but no one can take away who and what you are and what you are becoming. Knowing what's real and true for you, being the best you can be, is the strongest stance you can take. It's the place where authenticity lives. We often hear, be true to yourself, and the only life you can live is your own. All true and very good advice. Another truth, one we don't often hear, is to laugh, to weep, to reach out to another is to risk. To expose your true feelings, your dreams, is to risk. To love is to risk not being loved in return. To try risks failure. These risks make us vulnerable, even as they reflect who we are, our hopes, our wants, our desires. So, while being our true selves, being authentic is a good thing, it comes with risks. Even as being authentic is the strongest stance you can take, it comes with risk. And risk, by definition, allows us to be vulnerable. Taking risks can be scary. Yes, risk leaves us vulnerable. It's the truth of life. Brene Brown says, vulnerability is the birthplace of love. It's the birthplace of belonging, joy, courage, and creativity. It's the source of hope, empathy, accountability, and authenticity. Brene Brown says this. So if we are to truly live the life that is ours to live, if we are to be true to ourselves If we are to be authentic, we must take risks. And risk makes us vulnerable. To laugh, to weep, to reach out to another is to make ourselves vulnerable. To share our hopes and our dreams, even to love, is to make ourselves vulnerable. There is uncertainty in taking another step into the future of our lives. There is uncertainty in reaching out to another. The unknown lies within every commitment. We risk having our hopes and our dreams going unfulfilled. We make ourselves vulnerable to disappointment. And at the very same time, such vulnerability is the birthplace of belonging, of joy, creativity. Such vulnerability can be a door to increased authenticity, a vehicle to becoming more of who we already are. And our willingness to risk accepting one another as we are may well propel us into becoming more of who we are meant to be as a faith community, as a congregation. Our willingness to invite new members may help us become more authentic in living into what we say we believe. My fervent wish, and I recognize I risk being seen as naive, my wish is that we as a faith community become more willing to risk vulnerability. Faith community, willing to risk vulnerability. My wish is that we will become more willing to risk genuine engagement with one another, genuine engagement with the larger community of which we are a part. I wish that we will become more willing to be driven by our beliefs and our principles and less by a need to play it safe. More willing to risk finding out whether we can help bring more justice into the world. More willing to risk discovering whether or not love really does have the power to heal. My wish can come true if we're willing to be vulnerable with one another about what's important in our lives, sharing with one another what drives us, what feeds us, what makes us more whole, more authentic as individuals, more authentic as a community. I'm reminded of that song in our hymnal. There's more love somewhere. There's more love somewhere, and I'm going to keep on till I find it. There's more love somewhere. Who knows? We may truly find it right here within our reach if we're willing to make ourselves vulnerable to one another as a faith community. May it be so, and blessed be. Let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place, which is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory, a community of hope, a community of aspiration. The offering will be gratefully received. It is good that we've gathered. It's good to be together, for we need one another. We're glad you're here this morning.
Morning, everybody. I'm Linda Wood, representing the Caring Committee, and it's wonderful to see everybody. You know that if you have a joy or concern you want to share, that you can tell somebody on the Caring Committee. You can write it in the Lifelines book or call the church office. So let me just excuse myself for a second to look at this. I slid into home here at 10:59 this morning and didn't get a chance. Let's see. Nope, not a thing. That's good. No news is good news, right? I actually have two pieces of good news. First of all, Mark Nevins is home and recuperating and rehabbing after being in the hospital for a month in Richmond. So that's good news. We send him our best. And we have a joy that Sherry Bernath had a birthday last week. Yay, Sherry. If you have anything that you would like to share this morning that's on your heart, this is your opportunity to come forward and light a candle for whatever is on your mind and your heart. Both sides of the aisle. Oh, P.S. Jane told me that thank you, Jane, for pointing out that I skipped over something. She says, please take time to see the new art by Susan Loy in our fellowship hall. It explains how the UU flower service began. And thanks to the Spetlers for bringing it into us. Thank you, Jane, for pointing that out to me.
Our words of prayer, meditation, and reflection this morning come from Lao Tse, entitled Beyond Words. Existence is beyond the power of words to define. Terms may be used, but none of them absolute. In the beginning of heaven and earth, there were no words. Words come out of the womb of matter. And whether we dispassionately see to the core of life or passionately see the surface, the core and the surface are essentially the same. Words making them seem different, only to express appearance. If name is need, names them both. From wonder into wonder, existence opens.
I won't read the announcements that are printed in your order of service, but I will emphasize the importance of bringing your attention to a few things. Some of the keys, some of the locks are going to be rekeyed. It's very important for our administrator to have an updated list of who has keys to what. If you fail to let her know, you may find there's somewhere in the building that your key no longer works. Reverend LaFleur will be having a 4-week session on loss, grief, and bereavement. And the shared ministry committee asks you to complete a brief survey. If you haven't done already, you still have an opportunity to donate to Radio IQ and WVTF in a way that allows our congregation to be recognized on the air. We now have a couple of special announcements. First of all, from Walker and Kay, and then Cindy has an announcement for us.
Oh, boy, I'm tired. I don't know about you.
Well, you know, Mish Moves offers dance instruction. And if they had been around when I was young, I know I would have had a different career,
Oh, boy,
totally different career.
no kidding. You know, their mantra is to provide equal access to quality dance instruction throughout the Roanoke Valley. And boy, that is just head on with our goals of the Racial Justice Committee.
And apparently building self-esteem in their students is also an important goal of Mish Moves. And if they had been around when I was 14, perhaps I would have done then what I just did now, which I would never have done at 14.
Well, you know, too, you're going to have an opportunity to support this group. It's coming up on Saturday, November the 4th, 1 to 3, here at the church. They'll be doing their second performance, actually, for us. And as Rev Walter reminded us today, you know, it's time to put our money where our mouth is, to take a risk and be authentic about what we believe in terms of racial justice.
And don't forget, we'll have a meet and greet with the dancers, so you get to know them, and we'll have some light refreshments as well.
So be sure and come on out and support this highly professional group of young ladies from Mish Move Dance Company. They'll be here again Saturday, November the 4th, 1 to 3. Don't miss it.
Otherwise, I will have made a fool out of myself for absolutely nothing. So,
Boy, that was an example of vulnerability in action, wasn't it? You guys worked that up together, didn't you? Just quickly from me, a reminder that immediately after, well, not immediately, at 12:30 today after the regular service, we're going to have a forum with 4 amazing speakers on the anti-LGBTQA plus activities that are underway in Virginia schools, in particular Roanoke County. So please do stay for that. The coffee hour is going to take place as usual in Fellowship Hall. It's the last requirement that the Pride Committee has to check the box on to renew our status as a welcoming congregation. So your attendance and participation is important. there's going to be free food. First come, first serve, so please do stay. Thank you.
Go into the world and be joyous. Share what is yours to share. For what you have to share is a gift. Go into your week in peace.